Hi, my name is Sasha Weiman, and for today's tech tip, I'm going to show you how to add the new Teams Q&A app into your Microsoft Teams meetings. So previously, we could only add a Q&A into our Teams live events. We now have the option to add in that Q&A for our Teams meetings and also for our Teams webinars. Now, right now, only a meeting organizer has the option to add this app in, but in the future, we should be able to allow our co-organizers to add the Q&A app into our Teams meetings. Now, you can add the Q&A app in ahead of time, and you can also add it as the meeting is happening. So if I go ahead and I click into any meeting in my Teams calendar, I can navigate to the top of my meeting, click the plus button, and then I can search for Q&A. Now I'm going to hit add. And then we have two different types of Q&A that we can use. We have moderated and we have unmoderated. So unmoderated is going to allow the attendees to ask questions and respond to conversations without you as the meeting organizer or presenter publishing or allowing that. So it's a free-for-all Q&A. Anyone can ask questions, respond to conversations, and mark things as the best answer. Whereas the moderated will allow you as an organizer or a meeting presenter to set what is published, or you can also dismiss questions. So you have complete control over what is shared in your Q&A. In this case, I'm going to leave it open and I'm going to hit save. So there are a few factors to consider when setting up Q&A. It's first moderated or unmoderated. And then also, do you want a chat to be available to your meeting attendees? It may become confusing to have both a chat option and a Q&A option. So what I recommend doing is making that consideration, and then you can always go into your details and then your meeting options. And then once you're in your meeting options, you can disable the meeting chat for that specific meeting. So this means your meeting attendees will only have the option to send messages in your Q&A. The other item is who can present everyone. If you are ever going to do a moderated Q&A, you want to specify who your presenters are. If you do not do this, that means that anyone who joins the meeting is automatically a presenter and they're going to be able to moderate your QA. So if you do choose to go that route, make sure you choose specific people, and then anyone you invited, you would get a card here where you could fill in their name, and then when your meeting starts up, you automatically have your presenters and your attendees, and then only your presenters can help you moderate that Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and join the meeting. So now I'm in the meeting and I can see that I have the Q&A app. One of my first things I'm going to do is I'm going to check to make sure that my chat is turned off. And then I'm going to double check my participants. So if it is a moderated Q&A, you could go through and just double check that your presenters and attendees are set correctly. You can also always change your meeting options from here. So if you forget to turn off your chat, you would be able to make those settings here, and then also the present function. Now, if we click into the Q&A, we can see that I've got the option to ask a question. And because this is open, this is what your attendees will see as well. They can either ask a question or they can start a discussion. The difference between ask a question and start a discussion is with ask a question, you can mark a best answer. Start a discussion is more of just a, back and forth on a specific subject related to your presentation. So in this case, I am going to ask a question. Let's pretend I'm an attendee and I'm going to ask when the meeting starts. Now you can always kind of bold or italic, you can link. So if you want to, as a meeting organizer, share a resource, you would be able to include a link, you can include lists, and then you can always switch it back to a discussion if you want to. But I'm going to go ahead and post that. And now your meeting attendees and your meeting organizers can react to the post. They can respond to the question. And then you can go ahead and mark that as the best answer. So if we have a Q&A going and there's a lot of responses, you can mark that best answer, and then you can go ahead as the meeting organizer and pin that conversation to the top. So this is really good in the case of you getting a lot of the same questions. You can post the response, or you can even post your own discussion at the top and just pin it to let everybody know. Now, you can always edit and delete. So if I, as an attendee, submit a question, I can edit and delete it if I want to. The meeting organizer would be able to delete the message. They can also close the conversation so that there are no more responses. If you want to open up that topic of discussion again, you can, and you can even remove your best answers if you'd like to. Now, if you look, you have a filter, so all conversations, all questions, and all unanswered questions. So if I'm someone who's moderating, I may want to go ahead and look at all of those unanswered questions, note them, try to get them done before the meeting ends, but you always have the option to go back to your meeting history in your calendar, and you can see that Q&A history there. Now, you can always remove the Q&A if you no longer want it. And then you can add it back in. But when you add the application back in, the history will be there unless you go ahead and delete those conversations. For a moderated Q&A, I'm going to go ahead and turn on moderate attendee conversations. So this cannot be turned off once turned on. And I'm going to allow attendees to ask new questions. I could also disable this if I wanted to just post questions as an organizer or presenter, or post discussions. But in this case, I do want them to be able to send in their questions. So I'm going to hit that and hit save. And then we can see that as a meeting organizer, I have this in review, published, and dismissed field. So I can ask a question. And because I'm the organizer, it moves automatically into the published field. But if you had any questions coming in from meeting attendees, they would show up in this in review field. So then you could make the choice to publish or dismiss the message. Anything dismissed will show up here, and then you would be able to actually restore it from dismissed and republish it out if you wanted to, or re-review it. And you have all the same functionality. You can pin, you can close the conversation, you can respond, and then you can comment. For the attendees, what they would see would be just as simple. The organizer has disabled responses to their posts. They can ask their question here. They would see a history of the questions they asked, and then they would see when they received a response from you. And then if you had dismissed it, they would see that you had dismissed their question. So that is the Q&A app in Teams. There's going to be quite a few more features added in the next few months. So give it a try, and thank you for watching.